Australia.
Okay. All right. And my final issue is, what status does the National Airport Safeguarding Framework have as a guide to zoning and planning issues around airports? It's a document that I've been alerted to on your website, and I'm keen to know how and it's used in airport planning.
Okay, thanks, Senator. I might ask Mr MacArthur to come to the table as well and assist with this one. Basically, there's a number of guidelines that operate around the National Airport Safeguarding Framework. These have been developed over several years, and it's been a focus of the Transport and Infrastructure Council, which is a ministerial council of state and federal government. You'd recognise that a lot of the planning aspects are beyond the airport boundary, and they really sit with local government and state government to implement. But Mr MacArthur may be able to provide some additional advice.
I can just jump in a little bit, just by way of context. The National Airport Safeguarding Framework is a commitment from Commonwealth, state and territory governments with involvement with local government to address a number of issues associated with airports, and it's supported by the National Airport Safeguarding Advisory Group, which is a forum that brings together transport and planning officials to work through issues, whether it be noise, whether it be the public safety zones, or whether it be technical issues such as wind shear, to make sure that planning approvals and processes can actually take into account how to factor in an airport operations with the amenity of the community. So, sorry, Mr MacArthur, if there's anything to share.
That's right. Senator, as Ms Spence has indicated, it's essentially a joint...
Just go ahead, please.
Sorry, Russell MacArthur, Acting General Manager, Aviation Environment. Thank you, Chair. So, Senator, as been indicated by Ms Spence, the National Airport Safeguarding Group is formed with both the Commonwealth and territories, basically around land use planning off airports, because essentially land use planning still falls within the purview of the state and territory authorities to actually manage the off-airport parts of that. There are a number of guidelines that basically sit under that. So as Senator Patrick alluded to, the public safety zone guideline is now actually out for consultation at the moment publicly. That's been endorsed by the Transport Infrastructure Senior Officials Committee and is going to the Transport Infrastructure Committee for the Minister's endorsement later this year, is the anticipation around that one.
Right, so that's all of these guidelines, or just the...
So there are a number of guidelines that actually fall under that in a number of areas that have been indicated. So public safety zones, wind shear, aircraft noise, helicopter landing sites. There's a guideline that's been put out currently around that one. Wind turbine risk to aircraft. There's also pilot lighting distraction, managing airspace intrusion, and protection of airspace facilities around communication, navigation and surveillance.
So some of these have been dealt with previously.
Yep.
The current issues before the council around the public, or will be around the public safety zone and the helicopter strategic landing facilities.
Sorry, helicopter strategic.
This is around really protecting access for emergency helicopters, medical helicopters coming into hospitals, so that the planning in cities takes account of the fact that these aircraft need to get into hospitals, into landing pads safely.
So they're signed off by the Ministerial Council. Yes. But even after they're signed off, they are still guidelines. They're not. They are
guidelines, and it's the responsibility of the relevant state and territory to actually implement those.
Right. And do they apply to all airports or just the major airports?
They actually apply to all airports, not just the federally leased airports. So it's a matter, as saying, it's a matter for all the states and territories to implement through their planning regimes, but they should apply to any airport. So states and territories around the more secondary airports, they should be applying them around there. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.